In this video, we're going to be talking about proficiency scales, giving you lots of information regarding those. So let's go ahead and talk about the goals of the video. We will discuss what a proficiency scale is and what it does. We're going to keep it kind of pretty basic for this. We're also going to discuss how proficiency scales tackle a logical K-12 progression, which is something our district's really doing a great job with. And we'll also talk about how learning progressions are tackling more of the grade level progressions to ensure that it's speaking back to our proficiency scales, which have more of a holistic look at student growth. We're also going to talk about how learner progressions translate into proficiency scales and vice versa, how the connection between those two things work, which is kind of a little bit of the muddy work. And we're going to talk about why we're even using proficiency scales and what they actually do for students. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, so what is a proficiency scale? All right, well, a proficiency scale in its basic form is basically it creates a progression that teachers can use to determine the current level of a student's knowledge and skill. So we're going to use a quick demonstration here of one of our learner continuums. If you've had a chance to look at our district's continuum that was created last year, which is phenomenal, then this probably look familiar. If not, then you'll want to take a look at that. We don't really have enough time to dive in and talk about the continuum at this point. But this is basically right here. It says vocabulary, and this is the measurement topic. So this is the measurement topic of vocabulary. And a person starting in kindergarten would have to demonstrate mastery here, then here, and here, and here, and here, and so on and so forth. They would all the way down. So each one of these is resembling a student that is moving until they eventually reach the finish line. But like I said, it starts here in kindergarten, and then these two here, the same color, those are actually kindergarten. But each one of these represents a different move that a student would have to progress and move through in order to move up this measurement topic right here of vocabulary. So how does that play? How do all these things work together? That's what we're discussing right now. How do all these work together? So proficiency scales are built for all measurement topics. So proficiency scales, we're going to have a proficiency scale for vocabulary, and it could be broken up even more. That's still being built. So they are built for this. It has a K-12 lens. So proficiency scales have a K-12 lens. So proficiency scales are going to really ensure that if a Marysville student starts in kindergarten, and we're looking at them in terms of their vocabulary development, then the proficiency scales are going to ensure that that student makes all of these steps appropriately in order to demonstrate mastery of those, in order to ensure that when they go to graduate at the end of their time here in Marysville, that they are able to demonstrate mastery, or that they have all of the skills that they need in terms of vocabulary skills. So that's really what a proficiency scale does. It ensures this lens of a K-12 lens, this progression from that. So that's why it's so important to have these proficiency scales in place. So basically, a proficiency scale is a set of statements that progressively get more complex within a measurement topic. So each one of these progressively gets more complex, all right? Now these are just the standards that we move through here. A proficiency scale is actually created to ensure that the student is making the adequate growth. So let's explore a little bit further. What does a proficiency scale actually do? Well, when building a proficiency scale and looking at one, it's best to begin at the 3.0 score, the mastery score, which would be right here. You can see this little red dot here, marker, have that placed at the 3. So it's best to look here when you're looking at a proficiency scale, very similar to the learner progressions if you watch that video. So in this one, you can see at the top here, it talks about the strand is data analysis and probability. The topic, which is analyze data and displays. When you see the word topic on this one, that is a measurement topic for us. And this is at a 3rd grade level is one that this would be written at. So this piece right here, this is actually what a proficiency scale looks like. And this proficiency scale can be written for each individual one of these, or it could culminate as several of these. There's a couple different ways it can look, and like I said, our district's building what that will look like currently to ensure that we have that K-12 growth. All right, so the first thing we want to do is, like I said, take a look at that 3.0. in terms of what that mastery is, okay? So you want to start there first. So you can see this is what a student would have to do to demonstrate mastery at that level. Then it's important to look at the 2.0s, 1.0s, and not all proficiency scales would have zeros. So that will be determined again at the district level, so you won't have to worry about that for proficiency scales. But what you'll notice in the 2.0, you'll usually see more key vocabulary and basic concepts. So you have your mastery level here. Typically when you have your 2.0s and 1.0s, you start to see the skills, they start to regress in terms of how difficult or how challenging they are. And they usually include more of the key vocabulary. You're also often going to find more different levels of scaffolds. So if you look right here, you can see it says there are no major errors or omissions regarding the simpler details and process of the student. Then you can see key vocabulary, basic concepts. But take a look at the score 1.0 with help. So there, that with help means a scaffold. So scaffold, you'll see these different levels of scaffolds that you can provide for that too, which helps delineate the score between a 1 and a 2 and even a 0 in this case. Even with help, no understanding of skill or demonstration. So you can see the big argument with whether or not you have a 0 or not is whether or not you want to communicate to a student that they're basically getting a 0, which is telling them that they're not doing anything in that measurement topic. And that's probably not the case. They're probably able to do at least something. So whether or not you want to denote them as a 0 will still be determined on our end. So let's move in a little bit further. As I said, that's a proficiency scale. What it would look like, it would be built for either each one of these, several of these, and may look at just at the measurement topic and incorporate a K2 band, a 3-4 band. It just really depends on what's most appropriate to ensure that our students are progressing from kindergarten all the way up to 12th grade in that measurement topic. So whatever the district determines as what's going to ensure that the student gets that growth, that's what we're going to land on because that's what's best for kids. All right, so let's explore a little bit further here. Proficiency scales and learner progressions. As you can see, I have that continuum at the top right here, and then I have a couple learner progressions. If you're familiar with what a learner progression looks like, it basically has the standard here on the left, and then it breaks it down into the 1, 2, 3, 4 leveling as well. So there are lots of nuances that are the same between a learner progression and a proficiency scale. So this portion of the video is to kind of help unwrap those two things so you can kind of visualize it in your mind and see the difference between a proficiency scale and a learner progression and how these two things actually work together. And it's also important to know the things that are the same in them or very similar. All right, so each building may have their own progressions due to student needs, instructional resources, and available technology. So as I said, the proficiency scales are going to be created, and they're going to tackle that K-12. The proficiency scales are going to tackle that K-12 approach, right? But so like I said, the proficiency scales will tackle that K-12. However, in your building, you're not going to have all the same resources. You certainly don't have the same demographics, same types of students. So in your grade level, you'll be building your learner progressions to match your assessments that you have in place, the assessments that you value, the common assessments that you have, your individual grade level errors assessments. You're going to ensure that you're building your student, or you're ensuring that your students are prepared as prepared as you can in order to get them ready for each of those proficiency scales too. But each grade level, each building will be able to create their own, will be creating their own learner progressions, or will want to create their own learner progressions. A building certainly could just take the proficiency scales and utilize those if they don't have anything else in place of that, because that will still be that will still be very powerful and add lots of reflection and feedback and those kinds of things for learning in the classroom as well. So basically what I'm saying is Northwood Elementary, Naven Elementary, Raymond Elementary, Mill Valley, and Edgewood, they all may have learner progressions for the exact same proficiency scale piece. They'll want to make sure that your Northwood and Naven and all the other buildings, they'll want to make sure that their learner progressions ensure that whatever they deem as a 3 on their learner progression is also adequately matching the proficiency scales that the district puts together. Because the district's proficiency scales will be the kind of the bar that we want to make sure we get students to. However, like I'm saying, your building will have different challenges than some of the other buildings. So that's where learner progressions really come in. They help you understand and acknowledge those different constraints that you have to operate and deal in. A proficiency scale explicitly defines and organizes the knowledge a student must master at each level. A learner progression, communicates expectations of quality around a given task. So you can see that the learner progression that you create inside of your grade levels can help ensure that they have that growth inside of your current grade level, and it doesn't take a holistic approach. Your learner progressions, while they are going to ensure that they meet the proficiency scale, they're not necessarily built at a lens, at a K-12 lens, which is where the proficiency scales will be generated from. So learner progressions, I'm going to say this twice, so it's because it's very important. Learner progressions must fit the district proficiency scale, all right? Because the proficiency scale ensures a systematic K-12 progression, all right? So if you've already built some progressions, which we have in my building, we're going to make sure that our progressions are in line with the proficiency scales that the district puts together. That may mean we have to tweak and modify ours a little bit, but that is extremely important step in the process, because we want to make sure that these little guys in our classrooms are making the adequate progressions that they need to ensure that they reach mastery level at the end of all of this. Now, let's bounce all this back to some different research. All right, we've talked a lot about John Hattie already. We know that the point 4 is the hinge point, which is most effective. So where does a proficiency scale actually land on some of this research? Well, here we go. Proficiency scales are going to be able to provide formative evaluation. So this information will be reported to students and parents and all stakeholders. So this is going to be very formative in the sense that it's going to help them continually to learn and grow. It's not a summative approach like grades are. It's not you finish the first quarter, first trimester, and you've got an A. And now you're moving on to a whole other standard. No, what's happening is at the end of the trimester that you're going to report out where their growth has been in a certain measurement topic. But the understanding is that you're not finished in that measurement topic. You're going to continue to learn and grow in that as you move through your K-12 experience here in the district. All right. Also, acceleration is a key thing too in John Hattie's, where students are able to get content that is either above them, or the content that is above where they're currently at in terms of grade level. Well, that can happen inside of a PCBE model that we're exploring here and doing. The acceleration will be there because the proficiency scales will help students and teachers understand what it looks like at that next level and get content for students. Comprehensive interventions for learning disabled students who are on IEPs and are struggling learners. They will have access, or teachers working with them have access to all this information, and they'll be able to use that to continue to help their students learn and grow at their zone of proximal development, which is extremely important for all students, not just disabled students. Teacher clarity, I think that one's obvious. It's definitely going to help your language with students. It's going to help parents understand what students need to be able to do. They can support more at home. All those things just make logical sense as well. Feedback is huge. Students will definitely be getting some very specific feedback. It'll be very transparent as to what students need to grow or what students need to do in order to learn and grow, as well as to move on and do more specific grade level content or above grade level content. Our district will also be incorporating metacognitive strategies. So we will also develop proficiency skills around that area, and that basically has notes of our habits of mind as well as some other components as well. So definitely very excited about where we're going, that's for sure. The good news is our district our district proficiency skills will be developed next year. So those scales will be developed next year for you. All right. So I hope you enjoy learning about proficiency skills. Have fun.